Hi, thanks so much for joining me. So today I'm going to talk about some curriculum that I purchased for 5th grade, some books that were favorites, and some books I decided to use or not to use for spines for 4th or 5th grade. So let's get started. Familiar with my videos, you know I usually do flip-throughs. And yeah, so that's what we're going to do today. And we're going to kind of go through Blossom and Rooter River Voices Volume 1. So I did buy this for 4th grade and I did decide not to use it. I don't know what it was other than the fact that I think like the notebooking process, let me show you guys. So it starts from the European colonies to 1791. This is volume 1. And I was actually planning on going ahead and starting it and then, just using it all the way through. We are using Blossom and Root for science. We used it this year. One is the Animal Kingdom, and it's been working out pretty well. But it just didn't, I don't know, like it just wasn't flowing with us for history. Now, it starts with part 1 of the first European colonies, and it goes all the way, let's see. Okay, that's an overview, and then it has lesson 1, Native People of the Northeast, and here is the table of contents. Hopefully you can see that. And then we go to the next page, part 2, the growing colonies, and then starts with lesson 11, Native People of the Southeast. Okay. So I am going to link the video that I did at the beginning of the 4th grade year that shows you guys all of the books I actually bought to go with this curriculum, because I actually ended up already selling some back to used bookstores and not keeping a lot of them because, let me continue. Because a lot of the books I just didn't really, my daughter and I didn't really connect with, and that was part of the reason why I decided not to go with the curriculum. So, it goes on to part 4. I don't know why I was thinking it had 2 parts. So here we go. Part 3, the Revolutionary War, starts with lesson 19, the tension rises, all the way to lesson 29. We have part 4, building the foundation for a new nation, all the way to lesson 36, the Bill of Rights. So this is a 36-week planned curriculum, and it has different pathways. And I talk about all of that in my other video that I'm going to link. But so a kid's guide to Native American history, we ended up not really connecting with. It's a kid's guide to Latino history, a kid's guide to Native American history. And then I also used a kid's guide to African American history, but she had an alternative spine. We just really didn't like the format of those books. They were very text heavy, and we just weren't really drawing that much of the illustrations. I bought all 3 of them and I actually sold them all. Yeah, and so what I liked about this curriculum was all of the book options. That way you could, check out all of these from the library, figure out if you own, these are all of the different options you can use for books, just like for, supplemental books. So that's why I picked this curriculum. And then she has suggestions if you do like the standard pathway for older kids. It's the same spines, but then she adds in Before Columbus. So I did have that book, Before Columbus. And also, and then also an Indigenous People's History of the United States. I went ahead and bought that one too. That one, I think these are for older kids, or like she calls it, the standard pathway. So I went ahead and bought those 2 thinking I would just read them. We also bought King George, What Was His Problem? Whole Hilarious Story of the American Revolution. Okay, so those are the books that I still have that we bought. Oh yeah, and it continues with other book suggestions. So that was why I liked it. It is a literature-based curriculum, I believe, and it has all these options of longer reads, etc., etc. So it was right up my alley. But then when it came to doing the curriculum, we just didn't really feel connected to it. This was a student notebook. My daughter didn't draw design because we kind of didn't get very far. So this is a student notebook, and it has maps. So she did the first map, and then it's choose one of the profiles from one of the books, A Kid's Guide to Native American History, which she did this activity, and then write a paragraph, which is the same thing we did with science. I like this style for science, but it didn't work for us for history. I guess because history is just so complex. There's so much to read. There's so much to understand. And I don't know. I just didn't really feel her. My daughter and I we just didn't continue. Mainly because the books, we could have used other books, I guess, but I don't know. Yeah, and it goes, I went ahead and printed them all out thinking we would use it, but like I said, we just didn't like the book. So yeah, so I decided not to go with A River of Voices for 4th grade. 3rd grade, we used Curiosity Chronicles, and we pretty much did, let's see, we pretty much used Curiosity Chronicles all throughout Early Modern History Volume 1. So we used it for, like, you know, ancient history and all of that. So I did purchase the audio book. So that's what we're kind of doing now. So right now I'm filming this video in March, but I want to show the actual worksheets, which is I guess it's like the student packet. So these are the student pages. These are little things that they added in that you can do, like your child can do while they're listening. So we tried this out. I actually put these in like one of those little plastic sheet covers, so sheet protector, so she could just do this with dry erase markers, and she just didn't connect with doing this. She kind of just got focused on listening to the audio, and she ended up not doing these, which is you could also do these after, but it's like draw what you hear in order. This was it sounded good on paper and in theory, but in like when putting it to practice, when you're listening to the audio for something for her for the first time, it was kind of hard to do, like, because I was listening and I was like, what would I draw while I'm listening to this history lesson? And it was kind of hard for me to put in this perspective too. I like the concept, and I think, like I said, for some kids it might work. We ended up not doing that. A lot of the lessons have these little fortune tellers. Sorry that this is kind of, I remember these from when I was in school. You know, you put your hands through them and you like move around. So this is just one of those. So the big update I have for this is we actually quit doing these. So we started off really strong with chapter 1. We did these orally, the comprehension questions. So that's why they're not filled out, but we did do those orally. And I just found out that my daughter wasn't really comprehending. She wasn't really she didn't really remember what we learned. So we do history 2 days a week right now for 4th grade. And so when we would do history, like the next class, I would kind of ask her some things as a review, and she didn't remember any of it. And I barely remembered it either. And what we discovered about ourselves for 4th grade is that neither one of us are auditory learners. So for us, listening to the audio, you know, for her and for me, it just wasn't clicking. So yeah, so these are the student sheets. And like I said, we did the audio. So I didn't purchase actual physical book, but it was on my computer. So what we're doing now, because we did stop doing these, like I quit printing them. I think I only printed them up to like chapter 20 something. And then we're almost finished with the curriculum right now because we listened to it 2 days a week. Yeah, she didn't even finish the end of it. I just realized that she was getting more out of the curriculum if she would just listen to the audio while she was just reading off of my screen, which is, you know, the actual text. So that's what we're doing now. We're not doing these anymore because I just felt like they weren't adding for her personally to retain the information. And it's not like I wanted her to remember everything, not at all. But I just felt like it was taking more time and she wasn't enjoying doing it. And I started to question if we really needed to do this. But like I said, for kids who like, you know, like they have a lot of coloring stuff. My daughter, like this one she did, Queen Mary. But like if your kid likes to do like a lot of coloring and stuff like that, there's a lot of map work, then your child might like it. But my daughter does not. She likes to color in her free time, but she's not big on coloring. And I didn't really make her. I mean, I could have, but I didn't. So, you know, yeah. So, and also they did add more things I noticed with the modern history. Like they added a culture corner. So after some lessons, you get to hear about like someone who's like an artist or like someone in history that might pertain to like the time period you're learning about. So that was new. They didn't have that when we did ancient history. That was nice. And so I'm not going with Curiosity Chronicles for 5th grade though. For 5th grade, I'm going to talk about this in a future video. I plan on doing a 5th grade planning video, but I I don't know. I think I'm just going to do my own thing because this is world history and I want to move back towards American history again. So this book was a book that I bought. These 3 books were books that I bought via the curriculum that so what I knew this book would be a little much for my daughter. It's an Indigenous Peoples History of the United States for Young People by Roxanne Dunbar Ortiz, I'm not sure. Okay, so my daughter is not a big nonfiction reader, and I knew, this is black and white. It's not really the length. It's just on top of just listening to the audio and reading the text, I was like, where would I fit this in? So I bought it thinking I would read it and I would just kind of use it and just have like more knowledge on history and just be able to talk with her about stuff. But that didn't happen. I got distracted. I started reading it and I just I don't know. I just forgot. I just didn't continue reading it and I kind of just put it aside and ended up not using it. Now, I do plan on putting this book aside for when my daughter is a little bit older. It's not that it's too advanced or the material is something scary or anything like that. I don't think. But it's just that this is something that it's only it's like 250-ish pages. So it's just something that I know I'll have to not force her to read it, but y'all have to really, incentivize her to read it by telling her it's part of your reading. So I think I might have her read this in the future, when she's a little bit older, middle school or high school, older though, not 5th grade, just because of the length and that it's just not colorful. And I know so yeah. Okay, this one she read on her own. So this one was part of her nonfiction reads for 4th grade. This is before Columbus. So this one I really liked. I just wasn't sure. We started reading this. Let me show you the table of contents. So we started reading this ourselves at the beginning of 4th grade for history. But then, also has it's not too text heavy, but we actually got past this point. We got almost halfway. And then we kind of just got, I don't know if you call it burnt out, but we just were listening to the audio. We were both kind of reading through the text that came with Curiosity Chronicles. Even though we bought this for Blossom and Root, it still pertains, I think, to all history. And so we did start this with Blossom and Root, but since we stopped doing Blossom and Root, I just had her go ahead and finish this in her free time. And that's what she did. And she really liked it. And it's a very interesting read for Columbus. So then King George, what was his problem? The whole hilarious story of the American Revolution. So this book was with Blossom and Root, and I think there was going to be a part, table of contents. There was going to be a part in that curriculum where you talk about the American Revolution, and this was an option among some other books. I went ahead and decided to get it, but since we ended up doing world history, then we didn't get to it. So I'm putting this aside, and this is going to be one of her 5th grade, either independent reads or we might kind of go through it together. So I'm putting this aside for 5th grade because we 100% are doing American history for 5th grade. And then this is another book I bought, Howard Zinn, A Young People's History of the United States, thinking I could use it as a spine for maybe 5th grade. And it's just I don't know what age group it's for, but I just feel like my daughter probably wouldn't be as connected with it because to me, I think it kind of reminds me of a upper middle, upper middle school, maybe high school book. So again, this is going to be a book that I'm probably going to have her read, or her and I going to read together, which will take us a long time reading orally in a higher grade. I just felt, I don't want to use the word dry because honestly, it is what it is. It's history. It's just actual, it's not a novel or something. So it's not something that either one of us are drawn to read in our free time because neither one of us are huge nonfiction readers. I'll probably talk about this in another video too, you guys, when I talk about my 5th grade planning. But yeah, I like the book. It's just, it's not fitting in right now. And then this was a picture book called The Middle Passage by Tom Fieldings. I guess you could call it a picture book-ish. The Middle Passage was one of the most tragic ordeals in history, the terrifying and cruel trafficking of enslaved Africans across the Atlantic Ocean. So this book is by Tom Fieldings, and it has it's mainly wordless. It has some intros in it that give you a little bit more information, but mainly it is just wordless. And so my daughter and I both looked at it together, and yeah, so I highly recommend it. So yeah, it's like, it's just hard for us to find a curriculum that's a perfect fit. I don't know if that even exists, but every time I use curriculums for science and history, a lot of times they just don't work out for us. I think it's because science and history are such complex subjects, and there's so many things that one person might be drawn to and another one not so. And I think some curriculums focus on one thing and another one focuses on another. And so I don't think Curiosity Chronicles or Blossom and Root history are bad curriculums. I just think that both of them cover a certain amount of subjects and leave out a certain amount of subjects. And I think going forward, what I'm learning, as now I have a fourth grader that I've been homeschooling since kindergarten, is that I'm kind of just more and more and more drawn. And if I would just know myself better, I would realize that we do way better when we kind of just create our own way. And that way is like learning mostly through books. And I always wanted a guide for history, especially a guide for science, because I'm not, those aren't my strong suits, of course. But it just it seems like every time I get like a guide, we end up going our own direction anyway. But like I said, some people might like those curriculums for a different reason. So that's why I always like to show them, try to hope that they be helpful to someone. But yeah, so that's all I have to talk about today for history. Thanks so much for joining me. Thanks so much for subscribing and liking. If you're not subscribed, I'd appreciate it if you would, if you find my videos interesting and helpful. Thanks so much. Bye.